The year was 2018 and I had just obtained my first credit card. With a $9,000 limit and 0% interest for the first 12 months, I was hooked. I bought a camera, computer, drone, vacations. I was out of control. By the end of the spending spree, I had spent $6,148.04. Throughout the years, the debt just started piling up. A new car here, a new phone there. I was completely out of control. Until a book that was suggested to me changed my life. Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover. I owe almost all my financial success in life to this book. I still remember the day like it was yesterday. I was watching a video, I think it was Matthew Bella's video, and I sent it to my wife. A few minutes later, we bought the audiobook, and then like 20 minutes later, we called each other saying, oh my gosh, what have we done? We've completely messed up. And from that moment forward, the way I view money has changed my life and changed forever. The book is broken down into 7 baby steps. Step 1, save $1,000 for your emergency fund. Step 2, pay off all debt. Step 3, save 3 to 6 months of expenses. Step 4, invest 15%. Step 5, save for your children's college fund. Step 6, pay off your home early. Step 7, build wealth and give. For our purposes, we are only focusing on steps 1 and 2. All told, to this point, between cars, student loans, and credit cards, I've paid off $55,500. This includes $20,000 in student debt, $6,500 in credit card debt, $2,000 on miscellaneous like phones and a wedding ring, $12,000 on a car, and $15,000 on another car. So how did I do it? How did I get my life together and pay off all this money? At the time when we read these books, we were making only about $60,000 household income. So we started small. We started by paying off phones, which are just a couple $100, but really gives you the motivation to see this number drop and think, wow, this is kind of crazy. We implemented the snowball effect, which is the idea that paying off the smallest loan first, irregardless of interest rate, is going to keep the momentum building. It worked for me, and I would suggest you do it as well. Paying off a $400 phone loan is a lot easier than staring down the barrel of $50,000. Having 2 incomes and a wife who was on board was extremely helpful. We started cooking meals in the house, we started following minimalism and those practices, and we downsized our lives significantly. Learning to live with less has had the most profound impact on me and my wife and our debt payoff journey. The reason we've been able to pay off so much debt is because we just stopped buying so much stuff, because we realized we just don't need as much as we were told that we need. And people still poke fun at the two of us all the time for being minimalist, but I really believe it has had the most profound impact and is the #1 reason we've been able to pay off so much debt. Because we focus more on the relationships with people as opposed to having nice stuff. We were always willing to sacrifice. I've been told a million times that sacrificing and not spending money is not really living, and those people are just flat out wrong. And I promise you I have an amazing life, because things won't provide you fulfillment and happiness. Having kids, getting married, those things have provided me fulfillment and happiness beyond what any new phone or new computer could ever give me. Finding cheap hobbies that you can do in your free time is really valuable. Walking, running, these are things that are exceptionally cheap. We also found apps like Libby that give you free audiobooks if you have a library card. Definitely download that app, it's in the description down below. It's the single most important app that I have on my phone. We bought almost every item used. We still do that to this day. We buy cameras used, we buy lenses used, we buy computers used, we buy monitors used. Everything that's expensive that can be wiped down with a rag, we buy used. We basically were buying everything used except for underwear. Looking back on it, the progress seems so slow. Each week we could only pay off a few $100s of debt, but that slowly starts to build up as you increase your income and as you get higher paying jobs, you get raises. That's exactly what we did. I got a higher paying job throughout the debt payoff, and my wife and I both got raises. And these things all added together, while they don't happen immediately, they happen slowly over time. You build up some side incomes, you build up your actual income. These things added together can have a profound impact, and you'll look back in a year or 2 or 3 years and go, wow, I used to make $60,000 and now I make $250. And it's crazy, not that I make $250. It's crazy how slow it can feel sometimes, but just how dramatic the change can actually be. I remember there was a point a few years ago when I would just sit at my computer for hours, just doing the numbers, making equations, seeing if I could make a few extra bucks, if I could get a video editing gig here, and that was $500, that would help us pay it off this much quicker. If I could sell this computer, I could save this much money, and yada, yada, yada. And it became, I'm not gonna lie, it became a little obsessive, but I think if you're trying to do something great, if you're trying to do something that most people don't do, you have to get a little extreme sometimes. And this was my version of extreme. I don't necessarily suggest it for you, but if you really want to take care of such a huge problem like what we had and a huge problem like what you might have to get extreme. Eventually, we sold a car, and then in November 2020, we sold our home. In December 2020, once we got that check, we were officially debt-free. But this left us with a new problem. We only had one car, and a few months later, my wife got pregnant. Looking back, we did it completely incorrectly. If I could change everything I did, I probably would. There were lots of parts of it that I wouldn't change. The working hard, the way that we grew our income, those were probably the most important parts of paying it off. You can cut back as much as you want. At a certain level, you're going to hit a point where you can't cut back anymore. You need to eat, you need a house, you need water, you need basic things, and those things cost money. So you cut back as much as you possibly can, but at some point, the best way to pay off more debt is just to make more money. If I could do it all over again, I wouldn't have sold the car. I wouldn't have sold the house. I would have waited another 6, 7, 8 months to sell the home. And throughout the entirety of it, I would have been investing the 6% in my 401k to get the company match. That's one of the things that I really wish I would have done, and I wish my wife would have been doing the entire time, because the amount of money that we lost potentially from doing that, I don't even want to think about it. And this brings us to where we are today. We no longer have a negative net worth, which is really good. And we're actually on pace to hit a $1 million net worth by age 37. Now, this is with a lot of ifs, ands, and buts, certain percentage return in the market, yada, yada, yada. But it's a really fun goal to try and reach for. And I actually calculate our net worth every single month. I think that that is a really good idea to see where your money's going, what you're spending it on. I didn't used to do that. I thought it was kind of silly to do that, but I promise you it has really helped me out. We don't spend $10,000 on vacations. We invest that money instead, but investing money doesn't have to only be in the stock market. We've upgraded our basement. I've purchased items for my YouTube channel, etc. A lot of people are going to tell you that what you're doing is wrong, sacrificing as much as you possibly can in order to pay off the debt, but I promise you it's the right thing to do, because the borrower is always slave to the lender. And those people who are out living their fabulous lives, going on vacations, spending a bunch of money on a bunch of random crap that they don't need, they're gonna look at you in 10 years and go, wow, I wish I would have done what he did or what she did. So don't be afraid to sacrifice, even if what you're doing is a little weird. And as Dave Ramsey always says, if you wanna live like no one else, you have to learn to live like no one else. For those of you watching this video and thinking about all the debt that you might have, and think about how much further ahead I am than you are, how much further ahead some other people you know are than you, understand this has been a 4-year process. We started this back in 2019, and it's taken us a really long time to get to the point where we are today. This is not something that you're going to be able to accomplish overnight. But the good thing about humans is that we can peer into the future. We can see how our decisions today can affect the future version of us. We're the only things that can do that on the planet, and we need to be able to leverage that. So put yourself in a position to succeed. Find a good job. If you can't find a good job, get skills so you can get a good job. If you spend all your time after work just watching TV and relaxing, you aren't going to be put into a position where you can succeed. You have to be willing to sacrifice, you have to be willing to cut back, and you have to be willing to live a different life than a lot of people. But at some point, you're just going to have to grind and develop skills to make more money. I'm sure lots of you have extremely valid reasons as to why you can't do the above, but at the end of the day, it's your life, and I want you to take control of it. For some of you, it will be easier than others, but for all of you, it's possible, and there is always hope. And just remember to never sacrifice your morality for a few bucks. So I hope all of you take time this week to sit down, look at your finances, look at how much debt you owe, look at your current expenses, what can you cut back, how can you get this number from here down to here, and really start to improve the way that you live. Because after you write down your debts, you look at your expenses, things are gonna get crazy. You're gonna start walking throughout your house and saying, I could sell that, I don't use that, we should sell this, we could pay off this. Your life's gonna get crazy, but it'll get a lot better, I promise you that. And just think about what future you will think of past you. If I could, I would give past Scott a hug and a kiss, because I'm so thankful for everything I did in the past to set myself up for success today.